Welcome to the newest and hottest show of March. I'm JT Displays, and this is where I stand. This is where it's right here. This is where I stand. Talk about things that are happening in early March. I think you should know about. First one we're going to talk to you about political briefs. Some of the more newsy type news. Starting off with the death penalty. South Carolina, my home state, set for its first firing squad execution. This would be the fourth person to be executed by firing squad since 1976. This was a choice by the death row inmate, who is Brad Sigmund. He chose that after his attorney told him that the electric chair would cause him severe pain. Only 4 other states allowed as a method of execution currently: Idaho, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Utah. My take on this, and it's a doozy one. I mean, obviously this is not an easy thing to talk about in the United States. However, there are a lot of countries out there that have since outlawed it, viewing it as being inhumane. And personally, I think that there is always going to be a subset of us that will always kind of look for capital punishment as the ultimate punishment on the books there. And I don't necessarily fully disagree that. I can understand where some people have their issues with it there, especially when you look at how long those death row inmates are in the prisons themselves. That Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor said in a dissent in a 2017 Alabama case, in addition to being nearly instant, death by shooting may be comparatively painless compared to lethal injection, is what she's referring to. She did compare it. She cited a 2014 study. 7% of the 1,054 lethal injections conducted between 1900 and 2010 were botched, but that none of the 34 executions by firing squad have been. At the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, Chief Justice Alex Kozinski said, "The guillotine is probably the best, but seems inconsistent with our national ethos." Maybe. The firing squad strikes me as the most promising. Lead is cheaper than the deadly chemicals bought for lethal injection, in my opinion there. So if you're going to do it right. There haven't been any botched executions in the 34 attempts of death by firing squad between 1900 and 2010. What that means for us, basically a firing squad, you got 8 to 10 people who know how to fire a gun, who've already hired by the state. People can be very accurate nowadays, so I don't see a problem with this myself personally. You've got all these different salts and all these different chemicals that are being bought by the state. Not cheap chemicals by any means. You find somebody who can fire a rifle pretty easily, and not all those rifles are going to be loaded. So in a firing squad, there's no one person that's going to be necessarily completely responsible for the death, much less on one single person pressing the plunger to inject in. And there have been times, many times, as we've seen, 7% of them have been botched for the lethal injections. And that comes down to them struggling in pain. It's basically a torture as they slowly die out from it there. Hey, again, if you are going to execute somebody, far be it from me to decide that you should be allowed to execute somebody or not for their crimes. Not a great dude. Quite frankly, think that this should be a trend. Are guillotines going to make a comeback in 2025? For no reason. No reason at all. The United States has halted cyber operations against Russia amidst the Ukraine peace talk. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered U.S. Cyber Command to cease all offensive cyber operations against Russia. The suspension could increase risks to private sector infrastructure and weaken U.S. ability to counter Russian cyber threats, including ransomware attacks on hospitals and infrastructure that have intensified over the past year. Experts and officials across the political spectrum have noted and shared concerns that pausing cyber operations could leave the United States more vulnerable to Russian cyber threats and infrastructure attacks. But this is where I stand on this. Russia is one of the largest APTs, that is advanced persistent threats, in cyberspace. This is something that I am very passionate about, being a cybersecurity professional in my daytime job. Russian state-sponsored hackers have been responsible for some of the largest data breaches in the last decade. I can't understand it, but more importantly, I cannot understate just how bad this is for all of us. Very bad news. This should be front of your mind that we are no longer attempting to try to foil Russian hackers, who, again, some of the biggest data breaches of the last decade here. So this is not going to be an if this thing bites in the ass. Russia has been in our infrastructure, constantly trying to attack it and attack it and attack it, trying to appease them and hold off on attacking back. That's such a dumb move. You gotta laugh about it, because otherwise you're gonna feel pain. I'm not happy about it at all. Let's talk about things I am happy about. Sports. Moving on, we got a few different sports stories here for you folks. We've done some doom and gloom for you. UCI Pro Cycling. That's right, we're getting weird right off the bat. We're going straight to Europe here, folks. The spring classic season has upon us with Omloop Het Nieuwsblad on Saturday, and Kern Brussels Kern on Sunday. It will continue throughout March into April. The spring classics are one of the best parts of cycling. If you like to watch more than just the Tour de France, it's fun. But we're going to talk about the spring classics here. Søren Warenscrold won Omloop Het Nieuwsblad in a sprint finish Saturday, so that was a bit of a surprise there. We were expecting perhaps some of the bigger names to take that. It is a classic, so you expect them to finish it in a sort of solo attack style. And it was Søren Warenscrold got his biggest win of his young professional career. Kern's Brussels Kern was won by Jasper Philipsen, who is a sprinter. And this is where I stand on this. So many different races that happen, whether midweek or on the weekends there. Strade Bianche, Bruges de Pan, Dwars door Vlaanderen, or Flanders, E3 Saxo Bank, Amstel Gold, Paris-Roubaix, Liège-Bastogne-Liège are all still to come. I watch most of the races I can on Max. Cycling is where it's at because they use the Eurosport coverage of cycling, and let me tell you, absolutely clears. Biggest names in the men's pro peloton have been fairly quiet so far, but I expect that to change at Strade Bianche. It's going to be early morning for us Americans, though. Biggest names to watch for, though, in that race, going to be Mathieu van der Poel. It's going to be Tadej Pogačar, who is the reigning just points leader. He's very, very fast on a bike. Wout van Aert and Mads Pedersen. Wout van Aert, again, a little bit, he had some race issues, some illness, some crashes last year, but I'm hoping this year he can kind of return to form there after Mathieu van der Poel. And then Mads Pedersen is just a nice strong man who's really come into his own. There will be probably a Spring Classics roundup video later. Go ahead and put on my fan hat here. That's right, I'm a fan of EF Education First Easy Post. They are my favorite pro cycling team in the pro peloton, and they have already gotten off to a win here, so they don't usually do a lot of winning early on the season, but they did get one at the Trofeo Ses Salines with Marjan van den Berg. That's a lot of European names there that I just rattled off, so I apologize if I screwed up any of the pronunciation. Moving on in Sporting KC. They have now kicked off their MLS season. I do kind of have the starting 11 here over the past few games between Austin FC, San Jose, Inter Miami here. They have scored 2 goals! 2 goals in 4 games. SKC is now out of the Champions Cup. Very, very sad. Yes. 0-2-0 in MLS after losses to both Austin FC and San Jose. So basically what's happening here is they're losing 0-1, they're losing 3-1, they're losing 2-1. So as you notice, they're not scoring a whole lot right now with those kind of score lines there. Where I stand, new striker Jevljic finally is getting a goal there. SKC cannot score in February though. It's a long history of slow starts in February, so I'm not too surprised about it. Right now, my confidence on whether or not the team will make the playoffs in 2025, 33%. Why is that? Well, 16 out of 30 teams in MLS do make the playoffs, so you do have a better than 50% chance of getting in there. You just got to be better than half the field to get in the playoffs, guys. It's not hard, and yet they make it so hard to get into the playoffs. Why is that? Because they have missed the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years, only winning 1 playoff game since 2023. We won 1 round. It's been our MO. But now we're not even doing that. I really like the addition of Fernandez at center back there. The jury's still out on some of the other acquisitions there. Obviously, Jokovic, I think he's got to be better than Alan Polito last year. Let's be honest, he's just got to be better than that. Shoppy, the number 93 there, who's replacing Daniel Shallowy on the right wing there. Again, jury's still out there. Bartlett, new defensive midfielder there. He's a young gun. First year MLS debut. I think he needs some experience getting in these games. That's good. He needs the experience against these players that are better than him. Even San Jose, they're able to attack him and Jake Davis there over on, and they both got early yellow cards. San Jose did get a red card, but again, it's one of those things where I think that you got to be careful with Bartlett there. The teams are going to go after him and go after him and go after him, and we're going to find out soon. You know, they signed him, but shaky so far just because of just how big that job is meant to be for them. Other than that, folks, on to gaming news here. I've got 2 gaming stories for you. Mecha Break is now open beta. I did get the chance to play Mecha Break's closed beta. It's a fun, free-to-play multiplayer mecha pilot squad game with different abilities. Some are heavy strikers, some are light strikers, some are supports, all sorts of different classes of mechs in there. There's different objectives. There's zonal objective game modes. There are also escort package game modes as well from Call of Duty game mode, in which you can just play as a full 6v6 or a 6 squad, or even just head out into the wild areas and play a little PvE against some of the other mechs that they have in the game. And honestly, that's a really fun too, because then you get to pick up. So I think that there's some really good customization options there to it there. Monster Hunter Wild also released this weekend. That's about all I have to say about it. Monster Hunter Wilds is a $70 AAA game, yet it still has microtransactions just to change your character. My take on this here, Mecha Break took a lot of the feedback that was given to them in the closed beta and really fleshed out the PvE aspect of the game. There's still some graphical issues there. Graphics aren't final of it, but it's a lot of fun. Monster Hunter will continue to create content without my monetary contributions. Basically, I'm not going to pay to play Monster Hunter. It's not my deal. And that's fine. You know what else is fine? Joining me whenever I go live. In fact, it's better than fine. It's great. It's fun. It's amazing. Come hang out. Twitch.tv/JTDisplays. Also on YouTube at JTDisplays. And you can follow me anywhere I am for more content on other places. So we got YouTube, JT Displays, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, or Insta. I will also be at Planet Comic-Con 2025 doing a few cosplays there. If you want to see some of that content there, I'll be posting it when it becomes available for you guys. This has been JT Displays. This is where I stand. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next video.